podcast is going to be brought by the old-fashioned styling of Woodford Reserve Double Oak. Because if you want that smoke, we got it for you.
You want that smoke? He's double oak.
Exactly. Hold on, let me get a glass. Alvin, I'm looking for a little different angle today because you talked to me and you said to me, "Hey, man, I want to talk a little bit about Israel."
Okay.
So I've been sitting and doing a lot of research. My own research, reading things, stuff.
As you should. Aaron
And,
Rodgers.
and I don't want to come from a position where I think I know what I'm talking about. I want to come from a position of I'm trying to understand,
Okay.
right? So I think it was 1927. Israel became a sovereign state. That land was occupied by Palestinians, right?
Okay.
A lot of them were pushed to the coast, little area of the Gaza Strip, which has been in constant conflict ever since then. And then to me, it appears as though there's two elements that's going on. You have the element of people who are pissed because they lost their land. And then you have an element of people who are just anti-Semites.
Sure. Which is not a new thing. Like it's like people bring up anti-Semitism as like, oh, well, that is a reason to like you can just put that on everyone, right? Like that's just the only reason. This is a new thing, blah blah. It's like no, like hatred and racism and bigotry, that sort of thing. That's always been the case for everything, but that's never been a reason for um, what's going on here, even if it is in the hearts and minds of some of those combatants.
So you got Hamas, which is particularly sneaky from what I've been seeing, is that they intentionally hide behind non-anti-Semites, put their headquarters under things like hospitals, put their rocket launchers in places like civilian apartment complexes to antagonize Israel with rocket launchers and all the other things that go on, right? So an attack on a Hamas person more than likely is going to kill people who have no dog in the fight. They just live there.
Yeah, but the thing about that though, that I always find like dumb because that gets said a lot as far as like, oh, well, they're like human shields, I guess is what they say.
But aren't
But
they? From what I can tell, that's true though. That's not just propaganda. Like that's a real technique that they use.
yeah, but it's technique in the sense that if you are like the civilian tactic only works if you're attacking a person's home country, right? Like you can't just get to a Hamas base because it's in Palestine, and there isn't much space for them to put a base because it's the densest city in the world, I think.
In the world, I understand that little area has what 2-3 million people, crazy densely populated. And I didn't finish my research, but I would assume that population is the result of the liberation of Israel and taking that land and pushing people out of that land into that area.
Correct. So it's like they don't have like a coast, like a Long Beach or something where you can put like a military base, far away from civilians. It's like they're all up in there.
Yeah, man. I tell you what, I looked at it. I was just like, yeah, I think let me see what position I'm gonna take in this conversation. My position is it's fucked.
Yeah.
Right? It's
Yeah.
fucked from a point of I know it's not popular, and I'm trying to be very, very sensitive and careful because right now you're talking at a huge death toll of people in Israel. There's only like what 15 million of them in the world. There's like 7 million in that strip. They've already killed over 3,000 people. If you proportioned it out, that's like killing 10 to 30,000 Americans in one terror attack. If you took a look at it from a per capita standpoint, yeah, it's pretty fucked. And yeah, force is going to come back, but it seems as though like this is a multi-layered, multi-issued type of thing that I don't know if there is a right answer. I don't think there is an answer of, Israel should immediately move towards peace, because I'm telling you what, man, if y'all killed, 4,000 people in Vegas, somebody's gonna die.
Well, I tell you what, it's there's a lot of pieces to this, and I appreciate you doing some research and looking into it. But to me, I think there is a right answer, and not to be glib about it, but it is peace. Cheers, bro. Also, this podcast is simul funded by Topo Chico,
Yeah.
hard seltzer. This one's strawberry guava. So we aren't doing the White Claw today. We're doing the seltzer game.
I had to, in many ways, represent.
Oh yeah, we're gonna get into that.
I know you're down with the kingdom, but yeah, I'm still I rep my team, good, bad, or indifferent.
Yeah, yep. So we'll get into some of that our Chiefs Raiders quarter season thoughts and do that whole game. But just I was thinking about it the other day, after I told you I wanted to go off on the conflict, but I realized I don't necessarily feel compelled to put my voice out there, in the sense that there are people who are more educated on the conflict, B, far more engaging and able to speak on it in a way that's more intelligent.
Yeah.
So and C, like, able to really take a hit on, like, not that the 7 people watching I'm like worried about offending or whatever.
But you know what? It's a thing that I think it's real, and I'll say this, right? And there is very much, God, this is definitely going to be like, get me killed for this statement, but very much like the LGBT community and the Jewish community very much are two communities that you have to be very measured and careful in what you say, because they will fuck you up, right? Like, and they won't just fuck you up online, they'll fuck you up in your personal life. Like, yeah, you lose deals, your job ain't the same no more, right? And so it's difficult for an inquisitive, questioning person like mine to have conversations in those subjects sometimes, without feeling like there may be backlash for being inquisitive.
Right.
Or questioning what was considered conventional thought by those groups, going, "Hey, I don't get that." It doesn't seem like you get the bandwidth with those groups to have a civil discourse.
It's rough, and to a degree, I understand it, because it's like, these are people that are typically attacked, so they might be on guard, which is fine. But yeah, there's certainly some zealotry, in the sense that if you were to even buck the trend in an intelligent way, which is, for the LGBTQ stuff, rare, for the Israel stuff, not as rare. You can have some very intelligent questions made about that, but it's not to say it's like, regardless, you can get attacked for it, no matter where it is on that spectrum.
Yeah. I do got a topic I want to throw in there. I do want to talk to you in the end about aliens.
Okay. Aliens. Dude, I was telling my friend, I was like kind of swearing off on aliens, just because I'm tired of the foreplay and circle jerk of, like, are they, aren't they? Like, are they out there? Aren't they out there? But I am curious as to what you
fallen
guys say.
into this whole conspiracy theory of recent, and I want to share with you some of the thoughts of it. I don't have an opinion, as of yet, which is interesting, because normally I have an opinion on everything. But I look at that argument, and I'm just like, But yeah, we'll get there.
All right. So what do you want? You want to start light, or do you want to continue on with the Israel stuff?
I don't know. What I'll say is this, and I'll shift from, because, like you eloquently said, I do not have a lot of knowledge, or have done, or well versed in the history, and that history is not a short history, and it's not an easy history, and it's not one that you can wrap up.
I think it is.
What's that?
I think it is easy history.
If you take it an easy route, you're gonna get fucked up.
I mean, if you say the wrong things and maybe not inject enough nuance,
Yeah.
sure. But I think, God, there's this thing that's happening in the world. I was telling someone about it that we are obsessed with 50-50ism, which is no matter what is going on in any topic, no matter what political position, the belief is that the opposite side is always, is opposite but is equal. And I don't believe in that. I think
No.
there are rights and wrongs.
Yeah.
I think there and people think like, okay, well, right and wrong is like that's subjective, like that's your opinion. I think there are ways to objectively measure out right and wrong.
Yeah. I mean, like, without doing research, the easy thing is, to me, when I look at it, is like, you took my motherfucking land because you said it was your right. I want my shit back. So take some of these missiles, take some of this hate, right? And then through the years, it just doesn't seem like we move forward. We've moved further into separatists. There seems to be an apartheid type of environment for Palestinians in that area.
Not seem to
Right.
be is.
And if I look at things like the United Nations says things like they should stop apartheid and annex some of these areas and some different things. So, and Israeli politics, just from like me trying to look at it, it is complicated as shit. It's just as complicated as American politics with the left
Oh
and the
yeah.
right and people that
Oh
are
yeah.
in the middle, and all of that. But yeah, like the simple thing is, man, like some people feel like you took their shit.
Oh yeah.
Like, if I'm just gonna put it in straight nigga shit, like, you ran up, you took my block,
Uh-huh.
right? You made it your block. You put new signs up and said it's your block. You went to the city and got them to say it's your block, but I don't give a shit. I want my shit back.
And it's and you're being kind, I think, in a lot of ways, because you're like, it seems like an apartheid. It seems like there's theft. It's like, no,
Because
it's not seeming.
I don't feel comfortable in my knowledge at this moment to make definitive statements.
Okay. And
Right?
is
But
it
from what I can read from a few sources, not seeking out counter arguments, it's just kind of fucked up right now.
just got fucked up?
It's just kind of fucked up. I also saw this thing where they went and showed this new map with all these annexed areas and places that they wanted to put new settlements. Pissing people off.
Yeah.
Right.
It's clear. It's clear.
It's pretty clear. I think what will make this, what makes this conversation so fucking difficult, really, is because if it was just a conversation about land, right, and the land dispute, that's one conversation. That's an easy conversation to have. But as soon as you put in and oppress people with a religion,
yeah,
and then you have a holy document saying this is ours, you was just sitting on the block till we came back.
Uh-huh. Well, when you add in religion, you add an entire new dimension of nonsense as far as again, zealotry, dogma, and it's just like, what do you do now that you can't, because you can't logic your way out of that, because there's no logic involved with it. So how do you say to a person that you're wrong because you're clearly wrong, but and then their response is, well, it says in this book that I'm right, therefore, like, now what? There's nothing to do there.
I don't know. But look, man, I got some. I have some really good Jewish friends that I
was
like.
hoping your boy was gonna be on.
He wasn't able. I have some really good Jewish friends that I like to have some conversations with them, so I could have more of a. I'm looking at a non-religious land dispute kind of look at things, and really like to have somebody maybe introduce or help me understand the other or the full story. Funny thing is, I went to school with a kid who sent money to Hamas.
What?
Right? Yeah. When I was in junior high school, his dad was a doctor here, and they used to send money back to Hamas. And when I would talk to him, only thing that he would say to me, it wasn't really a religious thing. He was just like, they took my ancestral land. And that's the way that he felt about it. So anybody that was in support of them getting that land back, regardless of the rhetoric that came with it, they were supporting it. And I remember talking, I didn't know what the hell Hamas was or any of that. It's just funny it comes back to me because I remember he used to talk about it. I had no clue or understood or any of that stuff. But he always referred to it not as he talked poorly on the religion, he talked poorly on the fact that the land that his family had been in for generations was taken from them.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's a lot to be said about that too, just in the sense of like, hey, you know, if you're we think about how the Native Americans were treated here. And it's funny how like they were called the savages, but they were like they were protecting their land, like their area, their tribe. You know, the propaganda around is incredible. And one thing that I learned this week that I thought was very interesting was how, and like you said earlier, there's way like a conversation like this can get you fucked up in your life, in your job, or whatever. But that's in America. In Israel, there's far more freedom to talk about, you know, the rights and wrongs of the situation. In fact, I saw this poll, like so one of the major news outlets there, I think it's called Haaretz, is I want to say they're the I'm hesitant to call them the New York Times of Israel because there's a stigmatism with it here. Yeah. Not to say that they don't have what. Well, it's like, you know, you don't want to be like, oh, is this like a left liberal like outlet over there, which is like like they're certainly not right wing, but they're, you know, you can't just be like I said, 50-50ism. Like you can't just be accurate, because if you're accurate and call out one side, then you have a bias versus just being truthful. But they're saying that 4 out of 5 Israelis blame Benjamin Netanyahu for this attack. And a lot of them really, especially the left wing of the Israel population, is like really sympathetic to the Palestinian plight. And like obviously they don't get called anti-Semitic for acknowledging some very real shit that's going on over there. But in America, you know, if you don't 100% toe the line, and even if you bring up the fact that there's a apartheid situation going on there, you can very quickly get called an anti-Semite.
Man, I just like, I for real, like, I have nothing against Jews. I have nothing against Christians. I have nothing against Muslims. Right? I'll say that. I think we're different. I think you're more of the anti-religion type person.
I'm not. I mean, I'm so that's a good question. Yeah, so that's actually a good question. To clear that up. So there's 3 positions to be in, right? There's theist, which is you believe in theism, religion, right? There's anti-theism, which is you hate religion. And there's atheism, which is you don't want anything to do with it. Like I don't even want to engage with religion on a point of hating it, right? Like yeah. I don't want to touch it at all. So another good way I explain it,
it's like love, hate, and then abstaining, right? Which is
indifference.
Indifference is the true opposite of love and hate is indifference. So I get it. I'm following you. Yeah.
So you know, which is an atheist, it drives me crazy when people call atheism a religion, because it's not a religion. It's the absence. Both. Yeah. Yeah, it's the absence of it. It's kind of like, you know, if you're watching TV, like TV's religion, channel Fox is Christianity, ABC's, you know, you have all these channels, and
you just don't watch TV.
Yeah, and yeah, exactly. Like an anti-theist would throw the TV out the window, an atheist would just turn the TV off and walk away, right?
I got you.
So, now that's not to say that sometimes
isn't subject. I got to explore this a little bit with you, right? Okay. So you know my history. I was an AME youth minister at one point in time. You know, for the 7 people watching, you know, the reason why I felt out of that was that I got to the point where I didn't necessarily care for the hypocrisy of some of the parishioners, right? Where they're super holy, they're talking in tongues, and they're running up and down the aisle, and as soon as church is over, they talking trash on somebody's dress, and and stuff like that, real
Yeah.
petty on the same token. And if you address that, then you were attacked by the mob, right?
Like church gossip. I
That,
love it.
yeah, that church gossip. So I moved away from really organized religion, but I never moved away from God, right?
Mm.
I always say to people, I believe in God. I just don't believe in the people who claim to represent Him, right? That's
Yeah.
really kind of my stance, right? Um,
Very fair.
and I believe that and religion properly done can do a lot of great things, right? It provides
Agreed.
moral balance, right? It provides some people with a reason to live, a reason to do good things, right? A moral compass. Now, I am not so vain in my Christian thought to think that a moral compass can only come through going through and reading a Bible. I think that's where I think some Christians and Muslims and Jewish people go too far. There are very, very good people, right? And actually do the 10 commandments of the Bible, but don't follow the Bible,
Yeah.
right? It's
Yeah.
possible. Both can be true, right? Like, both can be true. So I've been on the outskirts of religion for a while, just sniping, because when I see them, Cleflo Dollars and the Joel Orsteins and all these people who are just fleecing people out of money, right?
Uh,
Fake healings and all of that stuff, right? Send us $15 and we'll send you some anointed oil that's going to cure your cancer. No, if you
yeah.
read the Bible actually tells you that God gives people talents and He will put people in your life to give you the cures that you need, right? So just to sit there and go, oh, I'm not going to go to a doctor or any of that stuff. God gave those doctors knowledge,
Uh,
right? And so, like, I get into a lot of beef around that, but I have to say to you, right? Like, don't you think in a way that a large segment of the world needs religion in order to stay in line in a way?
I think a large, yes, a large part of the population needs guidance, um, especially like now because we don't. It's kind of hard to wrap my brain around this, but it's like we had an opportunity as a young species to really solidify morality in an objective way, which is what I was talking about earlier. Like there are objective ways to measure right and wrong.
Yeah.
We didn't take it either because we didn't have the ability intellectually or philosophically, or didn't have the will. Because one of the great things about religion is that you could take something like this and use it to mass control people to do good things, of course, or you can use it to fulfill your ambitions, which may be world domination, control, riches. And it seems that we chose a latter.
And history has shown us both.
Yeah. So I think people, because we've never solidified like what is objective morality. People come into this world confused, and religion done well is a great way to rein those people in, as far as like, hey, like, don't go out and murder people, not
Don't
because it's clearly wrong, but because it says in this book, and don't even question it. Okay, fine, you can do that.
don't
But
steal. Don't steal. Don't sleep with your neighbor's wife. I mean, like, some of these things are like, yeah, we should. And maybe we wouldn't have this thought culture that
uh,
we're in because we girls right now and women's morals as through liberation of themselves, right? In the feminist movement has really lowered their standards. Because it's cool.
Sanders Howe.
No, I mean, there used to be a thing about, being virtuous, right? There used to be a thing about purity. And now, body counts are just something that you have to deal with, right? I was watching another podcast and they went into this whole thing called hoflation,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
And when it boils down to the level of effort for a man had to put out to get a good woman, right, has tripled from our grandfathers to today.
Mm.
And women are looking for tall, rich, right, well-adjusted men which means they're going down to, in their own standards, are looking at 7% of the population, right?
Sure.
Who are going to treat you like a hoe because they have options.
Okay.
And so, and it goes to, the empowerment of, we're all perfect, right? You can be 350 pounds and have hair on your face as a woman, right? But
Yeah.
you're 10. And
What's the, okay.
listen, man, like, and I've done it. I've seen a group of young ladies, and I go around and they say, hey, rate yourself on 1 to 10. All of them, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10. One of them may say 9, right? But all of
That's
them are going to
insane.
say 10. There ain't a single 10 in the room, right? And
All
it's
right.
this delusion that has been created, which stops people from working hard. Like, I never in the world will say that I'm a 10. I'm my best, I was maybe a solid 7. Now I'm a low 6, right? I let myself go a little bit, right? My personality makes up for a lot, right? But
Okay.
it's the delusional aspect. Everybody's a bad bitch, right? First of all, you shouldn't strive to be a bitch, but anyway. But like all of that, and the fact that I come from a guy that has 3 girls who's trying to keep them off the pole, keep them out of OnlyFans, and and find self worth from themselves
Uh,
instead of from others. It's a hard society to be in right now.
sure.
And I do say
You
that
know,
feminists. I say that the feminist movement, like many movements, has lost its way, and now it's just about you know accepting everything. Like I listen to some of these North American women who talk about how bad it is to be a woman, and I'm just like, Jesus Christ, go to Gaza, right? Like, yes, there's still some roadblocks and some barriers, but it's not what it used to be.
well, yeah, but I think that touches on something that can't be ignored in the sense that, yeah, okay, sure, there are ways to take an empowering movement to a ridiculous level, but we gotta realize that that stuff is a reaction to what was happening beforehand. So before, I mean, if we're talking about women now having too high standards, beforehand they weren't even allowed to have standards. You were getting married off when you're 12 years old to some like dude because you wanted to bridge the family or some shit.
Hold on,
Uh,
not too high, unrealistic. There's two different things.
okay, okay, but I mean, I'm just saying, like, whatever you want to call it, it's a radical reaction to the radical reality that was okay. Well, now you need to get married. You can't work. You need this man to survive. You know, you can't be picky. So it's like all this stuff. They beget other things. They birth these other like radicalness, and it's because in the very beginning of society, we just couldn't figure out how to treat each other right.
I can't wait for it to level out. I just can't wait for it to level out because I think we now have it's a pendulum, right? And I
Uh,
agree. The pendulum was for way too long was held at one side. And now it's swinging back. And instead of getting to the idea of 50-50, what you're talking about, now it is swung back to the other side, right? Where now it's almost I don't want to say irrational, but sometimes the arguments are illogical a little bit to me, like in like how far it goes. It
uh,
goes, and I didn't get a chance to find the video to send it to you, but I'm perusing my phone as I do, and you know me, I have feeds from everywhere. So I
uh,
intentionally try to like a lot of heavy Republic, heavy conservative, heavy progressive because I want to get all the smoke into my
okay.
what's it go back to our sponsor. I want to get all the smoke from it so I could actually try to understand and digest where I sit in the middle. And I came across a video of what appeared to be a man in like a swimming pool in his living room, and he's on all
Like a kiddie
fours,
pool.
like a kiddie pool, like an
Okay.
inflatable kiddie pool in his living room.
All right.
And he's in this pool on all fours, and he's grunting and screaming. And I realized this man is having a baby.
Uh-huh.
And then there's a woman that's in the pool who catches the baby, right? And they clean the baby off. It cuts to another scene of this man and this woman in a bed. The baby is latched on the woman's breast, and the woman says, it's a good thing the baby is latching. However, I'm not producing any milk. So, I'm supplementing with formula, but I'm going to continue to allow the baby to latch. That's when it dawned on me. The woman is a man,
Mm-hmm.
right? Alvin, to me, that's gone too far.
Yeah.
That's sexual abuse of a baby, right? You have a baby. That's no. I got
I don't know
bread.
if it's sexual abuse, but yeah.
What is it? Why if you cannot produce, if a man, if I had in your sister, we had a baby, and I let that baby suckle from my teeth, what do you call it?
I mean, weird. So, I mean, like, I feel like sexual abuse requires like sexual acts, like. I don't know, like
Fucking on a
having to.
nipple is a sexual act unless you're getting milk out of it.
Yeah, I mean, there's no arousal happening in any way. Like,
Maybe.
I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know
I
about
just
that.
think that is another example of a pendulum going way too far to the other side. I'm just like, look, I have no problem with the woman man having a baby and the man woman, having a relationship and raising a child. Do you, boo boo? Like I said before, more people should mind their own fucking business, right? But
Yeah,
but this just it struck me wrong.
yeah, yeah. Well, I can see that. Listen, I first off, I need to see this video because I'm not 100% convinced it isn't satire. But at the same time, I'm like, okay, this like 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 trans people can be messed up too, right? Like I don't think anyone's going to claim that just because if you're a trans person that you're immune to any sort of criticism of what you're doing with your life or what just about this whole topic. And like if you're not feeling it, which doesn't seem like a really like that doesn't seem like a cool situation to me. Like if you don't have mammary glands, like like don't put the child on your chest like that. Just give it formula. What are we doing with this? So anyway, um, yeah, it's just bizarre to me if this is real, which I don't know if it is, but at the same time, it's just like what I hope it's not something that like how many views does this thing have? Because my thing is okay, look, if you got this going on, um,
256,000.
okay, like
And it's
this
2 years
sort of
old.
thing, it gets used to demonize people. It's like if you just want to demonize them, fine. Let's make fun of them because that's clearly like some dumb shit to be doing to a kid. But I guarantee if you read the comment section, it's filled to the brim with just like, and this is why we gotta like hang fucking trans people. And this is like, okay, so what? Like this is a fail on the people who put this video up. Human is real again because I don't know if it is, but it's also just like a bad thing for the movement that this.
Well, I think this goes back to here's the thing, right? And I will say this, and I will use something that is closer to me so people can't say that I'm anti anything, right?
Oh,
And I've expressed it multiple times, I never got behind the Black Lives Matter movement,
hmm,
right? And the
right.
reason why I couldn't get behind the Black Lives Matter movement is that it lacked central leadership and it lacked a coherent thought. Yes, Black Lives Matter. As a slogan, run with it. As a fundraising unit in a political almost group, I couldn't get behind what they were saying. A lot of the stuff they were saying too are the traditional, in my opinion, Democrat fed talking points about we should care about things like welfare, and like in crime in the inner city. Look, I don't live that fucking life. So when people put those points out to me as a black person, I find them disrespectful that they feel as though that's what black people want to see. is bigger WIC checks, right? That right there, like you were talking about earlier, that's that low key hate that goes towards black people, perpetrated by the people who claim that they're helping us. The white savior movement shit that goes on, right? I can't get behind that, right? What I want, right, is, you know, I don't know, not having to wait 5 times longer than white people do when we vote, right? Like simple shit, like real ego, not having inherently bad school systems, not having hospitals where you will get turned away if you're black and you have to go to the county hospital where they take the welfare cases and you may die in transit. That type of shit is what I have a problem with, right? That's what I like to hear somebody talk about. Don't talk to me about WIC. Don't talk to me about welfare. I think that shit, white people are on welfare too. That's just not a uniquely black thing, right? But that's how we get pigeonholed into it. So when I listen to Black Lives Matter here, and especially when I heard them say the shit, defund the police, like Jesus Christ, people in inner city should be wanting more police presence. Maybe some that, don't immediately assume that you're a fucking suspect and beat you to death for taking a cell phone out your pocket. Maybe that's a good place to start, right? Maybe a good place to start is not to send police officers who have been dealing with inner city crime every day to a mental health call. Probably not a good idea. Refund the police, that would have been a better slogan, right? Let's take the money away from here. Let's add some more services in here. Boom, boom, boom. So I couldn't get behind it. And I think it got to the point of silly and ridiculous the Black Lives Matter movement went. The same way as I feel as though the LGBT community is gone. Like everybody, I feel, gets to a point where they just go too fucking far for me, where I'm just kind of like, what are you trying to do now? Like, what are you actually trying to accomplish? Because now it's hijacked by all of these rogue elements. Like, I'm seeing this shit, and it just made me sick to my stomach, where people are starting to try out of this, and it's a subset of this community. And by no means am I saying that this is what people in the community believe. But there's a subset of the community that is trying to normalize pedophilia.
What community is this?
Of the LGBT community. They are saying the same argument. These people were born with a preference towards children.
Oh, okay. Well, so let's clarify that for a second. I also agree. I agree with these people, by the way. The issue with that isn't that when you say normalize pedophilia, just so we're clear, they're not saying it's okay to have sex with kids. Okay. Right? Like, you get that? Okay.
No, I don't get that. So maybe I heard it. Maybe I took it the wrong way. So I'm being educated. Now I'm listening.
Yeah. So they're not saying it's okay to have sex with kids. What they're saying is that it's not okay to demonize people that have these proclivities as far as being attracted to kids. So the idea is that pedophilia is a mental health problem in the sense that this person can't help that they're attracted to kids. So instead of being demonized, these people should be getting help. Now, that's not to say that if these people get caught diddling kids, that they shouldn't be punished. They clearly should be punished because there's a victim now involved. But it's like, okay, well, if you're a person who has pedophilic thoughts, we want you to be comfortable enough to come out and go get therapy and medication and get that like taken care of before you basically explode and act on those thoughts.
Oh fuck, I just don't agree. Absolutely, that shit should be demonized. There are people who inherently want to kill people.
Sure, right? What you're saying, that's a thought crime, though.
And sociopaths, and they have been demonized, rightfully so.
No. We don't demonize people for thinking about killing people. We demonize them for killing people. You can think about killing someone all you want. We don't demonize that, right? But the second you act on it, that's where the problem is, because you're talking about criminalizing thought crime.
Okay, because like I think about killing people all the time, right? Like, and I live out my fantasy through video games. Okay, I get
Right.
right. Okay. So basically, what you're saying is that we should turn down the volume, right, that these people are going to receive, so that they're willing to go through the proper channels to get the proper help before they result to acting upon their feelings.
Correct. So the idea is that we don't have pedophiles actually like touching kids because we're nipping the problem in the bud before it becomes a problem.
I don't know how I feel about that, bro. I'm
It
not.
is counter. It's
I got
counterintuitive.
I got kids, right? So I look at that real different, right? Like
Yeah.
that's tough for me, right? I don't that man never want to be like I ain't gonna go to nobody's house and be like, oh man, I just came from counseling because the other day I saw this little girl. I was just so like wanted to bang the shit out of her, and I had to go
Yeah.
see my counselor. Like I can't fuck with you, bro.
Yeah, but it's like, but think about that. But think about that scenario. It's like you're walking into someone. First of all, normally they wouldn't even tell you that. Okay,
Yeah,
you become good friends with them. You let them watch your kids. Okay, right? So like they're hiding in these shadows, and you don't know where they're at, and they're not getting help, so they're a ticking time bomb. Whereas the other situation is if they're open enough to tell you, which I'd be stunned if someone told you that. But
but I
let's
mean,
say hypothetically.
but if this movement is successful, people will be to that point where people will talk about their mental health issues. People talk about being bipolar. People talk about all the other things. This will be another thing in the lexicon of mental health that people will just talk about.
Right, right. Which is like there's a lot about like we're it's so funny how we're this what we think is an evolved species, and there's just so much we were having a hard time grappling with. There's just so much and mainly about the mind. Like we've learned so much about the body and how it works and how it functions, and we're curing this and curing that and fixing, but the mind is still such a crazy thing for us to wrap our brains around because we can't really see its faults uh physically. It's something that has to be evaluated on a psychological level.
It could
So
be
it's like
subjective. It could be
yeah, so
subjective. Yeah.
we have a hard time being like, oh yeah, like this person has depression. Like, no, this person ain't depressed, bitch. You just sad. Like, we the way we talk about these things is like starting to evolve because we're starting to understand that depression isn't just sadness. It's like it's a mental health problem. Epilepsy isn't the devil inside of you. You're not possessed by the devil. You're having seizures. Like we need to help you. Like so when we get to something that's so taboo, which is pedophilia, which is a great topic. I'm glad you brought up. Because this is very fringe stuff, and a lot of people aren't going to get it. Like I'm not even mad at you to be like, oh man, I'm not feeling that, bro, because it's so fringe right now, and it's something that because the way we've both been raised the last however age we are, like this is like crazy talk, But
It is, bro. I would tell you, look, man. I have an expression, and I really live by this, right? Either you're green and growing, or you're ripe and rotten,
mm,
right? And I try to
love it.
stay green. I try to stay green and growing, and this is a new sprout for me. This is hard. Like it's hard to even wrap my head around this to try to understand the perspective
Yeah,
of it because I'll be honest with you, the simple idea that you say you have those thoughts makes me want to physically hurt you.
right, right. I feel you.
Right? It is. I don't have a problem with people bullying adults, and I know that sounds fucked, but let me just say
I
it.
don't
Right?
either. I'm pro bullying. I think
I'm
it's that.
pro bullying because I think it helps establish social norms. It keeps us
Oh yeah.
pushing in a certain direction as a society. And sometimes
Oh, yeah.
some motherfuckers need to be bullied out of being stupid, right? I get that. Like I'm totally with that. People don't
Preach.
agree with me on that, but like that's how I am, right?
Mhm.
Um, I just have a hard time wanting to understand someone who gets sexual enjoyment in their jollies off of innocent people. Right. Childhood bullying is a little different because when they're kids, there's a point where it's okay, but there's a point where it's not good. But I think when you start getting older and older, right, either you stand up for yourself, remove yourself from the situation, like be a fucking man, right? Step up, step away from that. Which, by the way, be a fucking man statement will get me in trouble because toxic masculinity. However, I will say this, right? Right. When women get approached by a man they don't want to talk to, you know what they say?
What?
When they're single,
What?
I got a man. Why? Because strength recognizes strength, right?
Sure.
What stops violence isn't violence, it's someone knowing you have the propensity for violence.
Hmm.
People
Yeah.
ain't gonna go up and start shit with Mike Tyson.
I think. Well, go ahead. Finish your thought.
You know, because they know that he will fuck you up, right? People don't start shit with the United States as a sovereign nation because they know we'll fuck you up. We strive to be peaceful. You cross a line though, ain't
We
nothing
don't.
left. Ain't nothing left of your city. You know what I'm saying? It's a parking lot, right? So
I think there's a flip side to that, though.
there's a propensity for violence that has to be displayed in order to keep hierarchies in line. And as much as people want to fight against hierarchies, unfortunately, as a species, we are hierarchical species.
Uh-huh.
You know, you take humans out and you go study other animals down to lobsters. There's a hierarchical structure of animals, right? So you can't attack the hierarchy. You just want to make sure it's not, you know, destructive, I guess, in my opinion, you know, when he goes, but like to say like we need to get rid of it, then what society do we have?
Yeah.
We have was
Uh,
one with no foundation, in my opinion, that will crumble in on itself.
not that I disagree with anything you really said, but just to kind of play devil's advocate,
Good idea.
um, just like people don't typically go up to Mike Tyson because they know they'll fuck him up. He'll fuck him up. But there are people that would go up against Mike Tyson because they know, like, they want to measure themselves. So like, get like, how many people go up to like Lil Wayne and be like, "Yo, can I battle rap you?" Like, knowing they're gonna get ate up, but still, it's like,
Yeah,
I gotta see where I measure up. So there is some, but both scenarios is there's a recognition of strength. Like you're not approaching this person because of their strength, and you are approaching this person because of their strength.
yeah. And the removal of that, I think, it spirals to weak people taking the position of strength, making things worse.
Yeah, I'm not one of those lefties that's ever been against like hierarchy. I believe in hierarchy.
Okay.
Um, I've always thought there needed to be some sort of I'm a capitalist. Like I hate the anti-capitalist talk. Like a lot of the talk because it's very unnuanced. But I like my thing as a progressive though is like I don't really worry about the ceiling per se. I want to make sure that the floor is taken care of, right? So if you like, I want a system where there can be winners and losers. I just don't want the losers to be sentenced to death.
Okay. I dig it. I dig it to a point. Like I think capitalism is great. However, I think the system of capitalism that we're starting to get into is too top heavy.
Yeah, there's
Um,
a reason for that. I mean, there's a reason for that too. But like, yeah, you're right.
I think there's been too much conglomeration. It stifles small businesses. Not that a small business can't succeed, it just makes it a little bit more difficult for them. I mean, there's a reason why the Rockefellers got hit with antitrust, right? There's a reason why, uh, you know, Ma Bell got broken up and allowed groups like Verizon and other cell phone companies to be able to come in because they had a stranglehold on the market, which meant that it was no longer free capitalism,
Right.
right? And I think that's the side of capitalism where it's the word free, which I have a problem with, right? We're getting to a point even in media where media is no longer a free capitalist structure. It's been consolidated to a point where there's like three people who run it all, right?
Right.
And that's no longer free to me, you know. If press gets consolidated down to where there's only four or five major news outlets, then that's no longer free press, right? In my opinion, right? And then when they choke out or villainize anyone else or undercut them to run them out, then that's where I have a problem with capitalism. I believe the greed has gotten to a point that there needs to be a leveling exercise.
Right. And that exercise typically is socialism. So like, there's a hybrid system where you check the capitalist structure, make sure that the field is fair for play. And then also, like I said, set up a situation where you can compete and better yourself, but if you lose, you're not destitute because you attempted to do something. And that's kind of like the core of all of my progressive value, like free college. It's like we need to raise the floor on everyone. Like you should be
Right.
going to college for free, and that bill should be on the state, on the country, because it helps raise the floor of the country. Like our education level should be at minimum college or something. Like go to college and learn the basket weave. I don't know.
I mean, well, or if not college structures or traditional college structures, there is a trade structure that is put in place where we're teaching mechanics and masons and
Mhm.
electricians as well, and those need to be jobs that are not frowned upon,
Exactly.
and that blue worker side of our society is just as important as the white collar side of our society, right?
Yep.
But there's been a villainization of, I believe, education, in my opinion, as well as people who put in a good, honest day's work, which kind of goes back to the unrealistic expectation of women, where women don't want to fuck with a construction worker, right? They don't want to fuck with a guy who drives a beat up pickup and puts in hard work every day. And those guys don't not make good money, right? Let's not get it twisted. People working those, they get good money.
Oh
However, a lot of women won't even look at them twice because they don't have on designer clothes.
yeah. um. Yeah. Yeah. I can see that for sure. I mean, there's certainly this media perception put out there where it's like you want that guy in the tuxedo and he's like got his hair coiffed in a good way, or like whatever.
Lamborghini and
Right. You got to look like Idris Elba. But I also think that might be a little overstated, because I feel like women, there are some women that think like, okay, I need to get that type of brother. But I think
you're in
some really.
LA, so you're like in gold digger capital of the world, man. Like I don't
You're in
know.
Vegas. I mean, that's where like I've seen the strip.
I mean, I'm telling you, man. If you go out there and you're fishing and you're trying to pull one down, there's a certain stigma that you have to put out to make yourself viable bait.
Sure.
Uh, and I
There's
and I
certainly better looks. Yes.
Yeah, and I think looks are even downgraded on men now. It's not even about men looks; it's about social status and economic status, right? Is what
Yeah.
women go after, right? And
Yeah.
some of that is the traditional provider. Women are hardwired to go after providers because providers traditionally can help extend your bloodline, right? That goes back to primitive time. The guy who could hunt the best, had the most women, right?
Of
Because
course.
that dude always had food, so let me go fuck with the guy where I eat at.
Well fed, so he's probably muscular and grown. Yeah.
Exactly, right. And so there's some of that. Hey, I want to bring up the alien thing.
Okay, so all right, so we've been doing 54 minutes. I
Yeah, I
want to talk
think
about aliens. I want to talk
alien.
about the aliens, and I want to talk about Chiefs Raiders. So we'll go like hour and a half.
Okay, let me just do aliens real quick. Okay,
Okay.
so Greeks, Romans, Indians, meaning people from India, and Nordic people.
Okay.
If you look at their religions, right?
Okay.
At some point in all of their religions, they refer to the higher powers, right?
Okay.
All of them will have some reference of them in a chariot of fire, right?
All right.
All of them will, when you get into Greek, they talk about Mount Olympus, and on top of the Mount Olympus sat a great castle. That castle was shiny and had glittery jewels all throughout it, right? Those are totally different religions, totally different areas, all having all the same account of, and even in Jewish, the book of Enoch, right? They talk about Enoch when he left the earth, he ascended to heaven in a fiery chariot,
Okay.
right? I just want you. I'm gonna stop there. I'm gonna leave that there, right? You
All right.
go back to evolution, right? They always talk about the missing link, right? Because there's a point in human evolution where you get to a point where there was too much growth in too short of a period of time for it to be part of evolution. That's why they're always looking for the missing link, right? What was that thing in the middle that pushed our brains to triple in size, right? And for us to become erectus, right?
Correct.
Right? And to move down that path,
Okay.
right? I will submit to you, sir, that all of those things point to extraterrestrials.
Mm. Okay.
That to a primitive person, a chariot of fire would be a spacecraft, right?
Yes. Feasible. Correct.
Mount Olympus would be a spaceship sitting on top of the mountain. The glimmering diamonds and the glimmering jewels were just diodes and lights that they weren't able at that time to comprehend what that was. You go
Yeah.
look at Stonehenge, you look at a lot of these rock formations and different things that were done, right? It is the reason why they are considered wonders, even the temples, is that it knows that it's almost impossible for a man of our stature to produce those things,
Correct.
right? I would submit to you that aliens came to the earth and they altered DNA. The altering of the DNA was the missing link by the alien culture. That is the reason why we saw a jump in progression, right?
Okay.
The
Okay.
reason why you got things like pyramids and temples were built was that during that altering in DNA, there were things that came out of that. And these things that we consider myth are not myth. Minotaurs actually existed. David and Goliath is not a proverbial story. There really was a race of giants that walked upon the earth. That same race of giants is the giants that erected Stonehenge. They are the race of giants who built the pyramids,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
And that was the race that also ultimately was stamped out and eliminated by this segment that has gone on to live. I would say we're a generic experiment for ancient aliens.
Okay. Okay.
And that is what we are. And that there are watchers and they come back every now and then. If you go and you look at the United States, even we now are getting to the point that we don't deny it, right? We don't acknowledge it, but there's a lot of evidence that we've been dealing with some other shit that's been going on, but we just ain't gonna come out and say it, right?
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and that's where I'm at, man, right now. That all of our religions are based upon our alien creators who came and altered our DNA. And I could go through multiple things where they just don't make fucking sense, Alvin. Like when you start looking at the time and when certain things were done, it doesn't make sense. I didn't even get into Hitler, where Hitler's had a whole division that was really put into this ancient technology. And he was making a spacecraft using inverse propulsion, which looked just like a spaceship, where instead of it blowing air out, it sucked air in, which caused it to levitate.
Okay.
And when you talk to those people, those scientists that were around when you saw Hitler's huge jump in technology came from Nazis, right? And they say that they were communicating with extraterrestrials, and that Hitler had, and that even the whole Nazi symbol goes back to every religion at some point has the swastika in it. Most of it refers to the star children
Okay.
in the pure bloodlines, which Hitler took it to a whole nother level, not saying that he did anything right. But I'm just saying, like, I really was watching this series and I've been paying attention to some things and I was listening and I was like, kind of like, it's plausible. Thoughts?
Hey, I'm not gonna say it's not. Okay, so let's kind of rewind back to what everything you were saying. Okay, so the religious aspect. These diaspora people all over the globe have the same allusions to flying chariots and higher beings and things of that nature. I think it's 100% possible that they saw something. Yeah, look, I think we're past the point of questioning whether aliens exist. I think we're mostly past the point of questioning whether they've probably visited Earth. I think we're all on the page that some of these sightings with the spheres and UFOs, UAPs, the things that the Air Force putting out. Like there's something up there, right? There's something up there. So I think we're all on that page. Um, I think that experiment wise, that's an interesting thing because it- I, f- I guess you'd be saying there is no link. There was a jump, right?
Yeah,
So there's no okay.
there was a jump, and no, but there was a period of time. Not only was there a jump, there was a period of time where mythical creatures existed. Those mythical creatures came from failed experiments.
Okay.
And even if you talk about Virgin Mary, the Immaculate Conception, that's alien technology. They
Yeah,
impregnated her without having sex with her. And if you would
exactly.
think somebody who can travel through universes has the ability to procreate without penetration.
I mean, we got that now. It's called in vitro fertilization. Like,
So who's to
so
say that
it's
they
not even
got
magic.
something that's past that? You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
that's what I like. It's like when more and more I think about it, a lot of these things that are ancient mysteries are easily solved by saying we are still a primitive species,
Yes.
and there is a more advanced species out there that has set us up, right? And
Uh-huh.
they have moved on, and they come back every now and then and they check on us. Now, what their intentions are, that's interesting. I don't know,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
But we,
But I've been reading a lot of like, and I consider it my, crackpot stuff. I got on it because of the whole thing about you got some Republicans but believe in like these lizard people.
uh,
And that all, and then so I jumped into a rabbit hole, Alvin, and I got to the bottom of that son of a bitch, and I'm looking around, kind of going, I can understand why people are down here.
very open space, accommodating, comfy.
Yeah, closing some gaps, some
Yeah.
holes. You feel that? I'm like, we're just an ant colony, that
Yeah.
done different things too. And they talk about some of the mythical creatures. Maybe they were made here, they were produced here, and they took those creatures to take it to another planet or to do other things with it. And this is what do they call it? Habitory or habatuary, where people who deal with animals and breed animals and stuff. Maybe we're just that.
Yeah, but you know what? Like I can follow like, hey, some of these mythical creatures that we think are just like the fantasy or whatever. I'm sure there were like minotaurs or minotaur type creatures that existed. I saw one. It was a unicorn. Um, it was a horse. It had like a horn on his forehead. Now it wasn't as like glamorous and like rainbow colored as the ones we do now, but by all intents and purposes, it was a unicorn.
Yeah, and then probably got embellished through storytelling and generationally passing it along, and somebody spiced it up a little bit, and somebody made My Little Ponies cartoon and normalized
Yeah.
it, right? But like, you
You think
wonder
about
how many of these
dinosaurs,
do. Yeah,
like
a griffin.
dragons is not that far off.
Yeah, a griffin.
Yeah.
Like, who we might know about dinosaurs, but what the fuck? What? Maybe there was another realm before dinosaurs were on Earth,
Mhm.
right? That we just don't have the tools or equipment to understand, right? To
Yeah.
pull into, right? But
Bones are
yeah,
too broken
I thought
down.
I wanted to share with you what I thought was lunacy. The fact that I was actually considering it was actually really fucking with me. It was Apollo. It was Apollo that fucked me up, right? The god Apollo, because the
Okay.
god Apollo is in Greek, Roman, Nordic, and Indian mythology. All of them say he was a traveler who imparted knowledge that traveled on a chariot of fire. I'm just like, whoa.
Yeah, yeah, that's way close.
Wait, and then I start thinking, well, what would a chariot of fire be to a primitive person? What could that be?
Uh-huh.
It's a
Yeah.
spaceship.
Now, what's funny is so if I saw this video, the Bible descriptions of angels is horrifying.
Oh,
Now, a lot of people like there's the media version of an angels being,
the Coca Cola.
bathed in light,
Yeah.
winged, beautiful, all this stuff. The Bible depicts them as like eyeballs covered in eyeballs. 3 pairs of wings, like all sorts of this like gnarly shit. So assuming you're a primitive person, you don't know the term for, if you're seeing balls of something, you think they're eyeballs or something like that, you try to describe them as like, these are angels, right? You've seen them. They're talking to you. They're not here to hurt you, but they're horrifying to look at, right? I mean, these could be the first descriptions of what aliens look like.
Could have been glasses, eyeballs on eyeballs,
Yeah, that too.
They wouldn't know what the fuck. Why are they got those things on their face? Well, they're wearing a helmet.
Uh-huh.
I mean, like, they wouldn't comprehend, and myth, lore, and legend would go a different way. I guess the question I have is, why have they left us? Why are they no longer actively involved with us?
Mm.
That's one of those things. Or are they actively involved with us, and we are just not privy to knowing the truth?
That's probably likely. The same way you don't tell your bird anything.
Yeah.
About your goings and comings.
Fuck. The same way I tell my, your dog might think, he's look at him, he's a god. He gets into a chariot and takes off in this chariot every day. Faster than any horse that I've seen.
I mean, shit, you just now start telling your youngest daughter how things go.
Yeah, like it's like Santa Claus, like it's better for you to think it exists than for me to tell you it doesn't.
Right. So on a higher level, they're probably just like, yeah, like we're children, probably even less than that to them. And they don't feel the need to make us privy to any of their thought processes. And all we got to do is sit here and not kill ourselves. Or maybe we should, maybe that's part of the experiment, to watch how long it takes for a species to break itself down.
Yeah, and then I went into a whole nother segment. I don't want to keep going deeper and deeper into this, but there was a whole other thing that there was more than one alien race that has interest in us.
I've seen that too.
And there's one that is more positive and one that's more negative.
Correct.
Right. One alien race wants to arm us with weapons of destruction so we can fuck each other up, right?
Uh-huh.
And others have strategically through time have given us things, right? Like they talked about Zeus, and like they were like, if Zeus wasn't wielding lightning, he was wielding an energy weapon.
Yeah.
And if he shot somebody with a beam, right, that could basically fucking melt you, right, or burn you, right? To them, they would say he was slinging lightning.
Right.
It's not lightning. It's fucking laser, right?
Yeah.
But like, what would an alien say today? What would somebody in 2000 BC or would think of our technology today?
Yeah, the fact that you can wield lights.
We're all gods to them now.
Right. You go back there with a flashlight, man. You got a whole church built for you.
He could create lighter. He could create fire from his fingers. I had a lighter in my hand, Jai.
Uh-huh. Boom. Instant cult following.
2000 BC. I'm fucking every woman is giving it up now.
Yeah, and that's the most primitive shit a person can think. Like the first thing you think, if you show yourself as a god, is how many girls you can fuck.
I got all the girls. Whatever land I want, shit's mine, son.
Which makes you wonder who Aphrodite was. It was just a hoe. Went back in time, was just like, oh yeah, about to get it in.
She was a thought of the alien race.
That's funny because all the Greek gods they all fucked. So
all of them fucking.
Went back. You go to this primitive planet, and you're dropping off technology here and there, dropping off knowledge here and there, but you don't fuck while you're there.
Yeah, we're throwing DNA everywhere.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just thought that was such a interesting thought. And then which would also lead to the reason why organized countries would, because it brings it all full circle. Because I've been thinking about this the whole conversation we were having. This goes back to why we would never want this out because it would threaten the very fabric of religion.
Yeah, that's well, religion one thing, but just a person's mind, right?
Yeah.
How do you reconcile one, effectively being lied to your whole life, and two, like if you're someone that really needs this sort of thing to like you go crazy, right? Like how do you not go crazy? How do you not like quit your job? How do you not just become basically a monk at best, or just a maniac killer?
Just fuck, yeah.
Nothing matters anymore, apparently.
There is no heaven, right? Like imagine if there is no heaven, there is no hell, right? All these things that we've been taught, right, are not true, or they do exist, but really it's just somebody who's smarter than us playing with us.
Yeah.
Like that would lead us to anarchy.
I wonder though, because I don't think the existence of heaven or aliens would invalidate the concept of heaven or hell or an afterlife in any form. Just prove that whatever we thought, like whatever books we were reading, are false, right? And that's something like, not to go back to some of the atheism stuff. Even the biggest atheists on the planet, on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being 100% certain there is no afterlife, even the biggest atheists on the planet say they're like a 7. Right? We don't know. It could be the case, but one thing that all atheists believe is that if there is, the path to get there is not through any of our current known religions.
I don't know, man. Maybe they got a neural network where they have a whole advanced AI that keeps tracking every last one of us. Like, and the ones that act right, they can come hang out with us at our other planet, and the ones that don't, send them to this shitty fucking planet of Island of the Misfit Toys. I don't know.
That is a very practical way. Yeah, that could be very much the case. You go to a heaven of immortality because they have the technology to keep you alive forever, and bliss, and everything you ever wanted, and the other one is just immortality, but also just like sucks.
Yeah. I think most people don't even realize, and I don't want to get too deep in it, but from a Christianity standpoint, heaven will be on earth is the way that it's written in the text, if people really pay attention to it. Hell is nothing but the water set on fire, right? Like after the rapture, hell will be emptied, and the agents of hell will have the opportunity to run on earth and run amok before God comes or Jesus comes, puts them in place, and then he will unite all the land back together, Pangea. That will become heaven, and all of the water will be set on fire, and that is where all of sin and despair and pain and everything will be set into the lake of fire. Which is why, if you ever heard the expression, most people don't even realize it. When the old expression, "No, go jump in a lake," they're telling you to go to hell.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. Wow.
That's a polite Christian way of saying go to hell.
Hey, right.
Ain't Christian. And that is the ain't Christian moment of the day.
I can't believe it took us this long to get one out there.
I know. That's normally our shtick, right?
Yeah, we've run through several like LGBTQ and other shit.
Well, I mean, I think the problem is with a lot of those things is to inject Christianity into any of the conversations that we just had. I hate to say it, injects bias and a lack of understanding.
Sure.
Because like to say, hey, look, you ran up and took somebody's land, that ain't right. That ain't Christian.
I think it's good to add that I think we've clearly established ourselves as being sympathetic to one side, but I think it's also good to mention that I think both of us are very much so like feel for the victims of the attack in Israel, right?
I feel, and this is going to piss people off, I feel for the victims of the attack on both sides.
Sure,
I mean,
sure.
I was going through the counts, the body counts. I want to say it is several thousand on both sides. And both sides are reporting a high amount of civilian casualties, right?
Well,
That
now, right?
that ain't right. That
ain't
right,
great.
no matter how you look at it.
I mean, that's now, but like just the attacks and then the response to that.
Retaliation, yeah.
But and we won't even get into how many people died in Palestine the last 40 years from fucking, but I'm just saying, like, as a clear message of like, yeah, it's awful what happened to the Israelis last week, and that's no matter what's going on, that's I don't think there's an excuse for that.
Yeah. I'm not gonna, and I don't want anybody to take away from it like I'm saying a Trump-like statement of there's good people on both sides. Like, no, I'm not saying that. I think there are bad actions on both sides, and I think both sides, if you take time to listen to them, will find a way to justify it. I think at the end of the day, there just needs to be a movement towards peace, a movement towards de-escalation, a movement of how can those two cultures cohabitate in that same area, where everyone feels like the apartheid structure is only going to lead to more violence, right? Like I don't want to blame anyone, but like if you have a structure that is set up that way, you're breeding discontent. Not only is that, is you had Hamas, true fucking nutbags. I'll say that out loud. Hamas, they're out there. They are about genocide of the Jewish people, right? They're not looking for a solution. They're just looking for them to die, right? Right. Those people are nutty, right? But you got to be careful not to do what we did in Iraq.
Right.
You come in looking for a particular element and you kill people that aren't involved with that, then you inherit new enemies. People who never had a problem with the original beef. Matter of fact, they even supported you, but you killed my wife.
Yeah.
Right? It's war is messy, and I think that's how I like to end it. This is starting to turn out to be a real war. And in real war, there are civilian casualties in real war. Sometimes it is calculated to kill civilians in order to stop aggression in a real war. And for everybody who wants to be judgmental, how judgmental were you when we dropped bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki? Those were not military strategic targets.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know that.
Right? Those were targets that were designed to break the back of a nation. They killed so many fucking civilians that they were like, Jesus Christ, we don't want to keep playing with these people.
Yeah, and like to maximize it too. Like if you hear the stories about how the bombs were and the decisions to drop the bombs were talked about and developed, like they picked that area because they knew like the mountains would like bounce back the force. Japan was already trying to surrender and we wouldn't let them. Like it's just horrific, man. So but you're absolutely right about that. Like any Americans who's talking about the civilians and stuff, is like, yeah, we done that shit.
Yeah, at least they did what I thought we should have did in Iraq. I do commend Israel for doing that, because that's what I always felt like we should have did in Iraq. We should have been dropping leaflets on them saying, leave now or die, and then turned it into a parking lot. And that's exactly what they're doing now. They're dropping leaflets on them saying, hey, if y'all don't evacuate this area, you're going to die along with the rest of them.
Which I always thought was weird, because it's like, aren't the bad guys going to get the leaflet? Like, it's
a humanitarian effort in a war. In a real war, you're trying to minimize it, right? So you're going to say, hey, look, guys, we're about to fuck this up. And we don't even care if they know we're about to fuck this up. We're about to unleash hell on this area. Hang around if you wish, but if you hang around, you are considered an enemy combatant. We're not stopping and checking IDs, right? We see you, we smoke you. Once again,
Ugh.
all of that smoke brought to you by Woodford Reserve Double Oak.
And we'll cut it there because damn, I feel like I could.
No,
My
let's
friends are just going off on it.
yeah, it is. I mean, I just think I think that's to me, I think that's the fucked up thing about Western society is that we have forgot what war means. We have done so many conflicts, right? And we have forgot what war means. And war is not by definition, it's not peaceful, it's not humane. That is not the purpose. It is to break the will, to break the back of a group of people, to make them bend a knee to you, old school motherfucking Age of the Dragons, type of shit, like bend a knee type shit. That's what we're looking for, right? And if you do not break the will of your enemy, you kill them. You kill more and more of their citizens until they do.
Yeah. All right, so give me your 5-minute synopsis of the Raiders.
First of all, what's up, Raider Nation? I've been down with you guys forever, right? I grew up in Kansas City, was a Raiders fan because real recognizes real.
In the heart.
But Nation, I gotta talk to you guys. Okay. Josh McDaniels ain't it. If you look back to him, he's the losingest coach in the NFL. If you want to go back to when he was winning, the only reason why he was winning is because he was recording the practice of other teams. And when he got caught doing that, the team immediately went on a losing streak and he lost his job. Look, guys, I don't know what we're thinking, but picking up a quarterback that has a history of injuries and can never finish the season is not what we should be building our franchise around. Joey G, he ain't it. Right? Seen some definite improvements on the defense, right? Okay. Keep working there, guys. Max, I love what you're doing. Diablo, not only do I love your name, I love
that name's dope.
I love what you're doing out there, team. But guys,
dudes ain't Instagramming their guns.
Yeah, it's time to start. It's time for us to destroy this team and rebuild. Right? We are, and we need to get past our old hangups, and we need to quit looking at finding old stars and bringing them to our team and invest in new stars. When I pass it over to this motherfucker who's going to talk about these goddamn Chiefs, they are built on finding young talent, developing young talent, and bringing them up to a level of the superstar quality that they're looking for. Not going and trying to recruit people like fucking Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady and a bunch of old motherfuckers who've outlived their usefulness.
Yeah.
Right? Let's get on the front office, right? Let's start looking at college players, right? Let's partner with people like Deion Sanders and other big college coaches to start developing pipelines. No different than what Jerry Jones did when he developed the Cowboy super team of the 90s, coupling up with the Miami schools and bringing people in to build his team, right? I hope that answers your question of how I feel about the team, Alvin. All right. I don't see a lot of future in it. Matter of fact, I really feel like they should bench Joey G, and we need to start the backup that we started 2 weeks ago. I can't think of his name right now. It's just slipping my tongue right now. But he came in and he actually did a pretty good. He didn't do a bad job. Okay, you could tell he was nervous, but it was his first game. Also, if you look at his stats, he was the best preseason quarterback of the backups that were out there. He put up the best numbers in preseason, right? Like we have some ability to grow some talent, but guys, we're not a playoff team. We're not a fucking Super Bowl team. We need to start acting like it, right? We need to start trying to find the next level of talent, quit being delusional. And then the last thing I'll say is if we have an opportunity, we need to leave Las Vegas.
No, come on now. You just got a stadium.
And?
Nah, you ain't leaving.
Listen, Alvin,
What's the point of this? Wait, we'll go back to Oakland? Is that the problem? Is that the plan?
Yeah, go anywhere but Vegas.
Okay, so why is that?
It's not Vegas's team. This is not a home stadium. Green Bay last week, 54% of the 54% of the people in the stands were supporting Green Bay. How many fucking miles away is Green Bay from Las Vegas? We don't
Too many for that.
We don't have a home stadium, Alvin.
Yeah.
It's not a home. There is no. Our home games are away games. Fuck. How comfortable did you feel at that stadium?
Very, very comfortable. I was like, damn, I don't know, man. I'm gonna be up here surrounded by Raiders Nation. Saw the outside and people going in. I was like, oh wow, okay. I feel real good. I kicked back, put my slippers on.
When the Chiefs had a good play, it was louder in the stadium than when the Raiders had a good play.
Sure was.
And as a true fan, a true member of Raider Nation, right? We need a capital, and this ain't it. This is the Coliseum. This is where people come for entertainment.
Yeah.
But this isn't home. Yeah. And I'm dead ass about that. Like Oakland A's, it's going to be the same way. It is not going to be a Las Vegas team. It's going to be the country's team for people with money to come in and come see their team play against the local team and then go pay my taxes.
AKA gamble.
Yes.
Wow.
So that's how I feel about it. I am like, that's why I am a true diehard Raiders fan, that I am truly disappointed in the direction and leadership of this team.
Okay. So what's the new quarterback you said?
Let me find his name, because he did good. Like, because when Garoppolo was hurt, go figure, and had to be out on concussion protocol, he came in and he did good.
Oh.
Now, if we lose this game to the Patriots,
don't lose that game. Don't lose that game, bro. Patriots have been outscored like 70-3 the last two games. Don't lose that game.
Yeah. The problem is that I just don't have a lot of faith in the team right now, right? I look at the play calling is questionable. The defense calling is questionable. And I get jealous when I sit and I see the Chiefs or the Eagles, and I see well-coached teams, right? Versus what I'm seeing on the Raiders. I got to give respect to the defense. We've definitely improved from last year to this year. I felt as though it was really bad. I also, guys, just so on the record, was not a fan of trading Carr. I wasn't a fan of
he's a scapegoat.
Yeah, but look, I can go so far back on this. I wasn't a fan of the Khalil Mack trade, right? We got nothing out of it. I wasn't a fan of getting rid of Derek Waller. Like, you go through this long laundry list of bullshit that we've done. It doesn't make sense. Now, I'll tell you this. I'll say this to you. I think the Chiefs made one front office bad move with, and I don't know all the background on it, but letting Hill go.
Yeah, I mean, we don't want to, but it was a certain, like, there was we got fucked up because of the Raiders, by the way. To which is probably the best move the Raiders have made against the Chiefs in like a decade.
What do we do?
So we had a deal in place for Tyreek Hill. And apparently he was just about to sign when Devontae Adams signed his mega deal.
Yeah.
And because of that deal, Tyreek wanted more money. We didn't have the money to pay him. So that fucked up our deal with Tyreek.
Why didn't Patty give up some of his money to keep his player?
I want to say it might have been just like the principle of the thing, but I don't know the difference in the amount of money. But because of that fucked everything up. So we ended up trading him to Miami got a gang of picks, which helped rebuild our team. So I mean, it seemed to work out, but we'd love to have
Miami look a little. If they can stay consistent, Miami look a little nasty. I think they got the 4th fastest player in the NFL sit on that roster.
Yeah, like all the top 10 like fastest speeds recorded are like all Dolphins. Between him, like Waddle, Mostert. So yeah, it's crazy. But to kind of bring that around to the Chiefs, well, it's funny that you said you were like jealous watching the Chiefs, because the Chiefs Kingdom, like, we're over here always like, why is Andy Reid calling this play or that play? Because we have a trick play problem for some reason. Like, we can move the ball typically up and down the field at will, but if we get in the 3rd and short, like, every Chiefs fan is just like biting their fingers. It's just like, okay, are we going to try and run it? Are they going to try to do a little pirouette, halfback pass, flea flicker to the flat, some like bullshit trick play, and we not pick it up? So, that kind of stuff kind of makes us pull our hair out. But other than that, there isn't too much going on in Chiefs Kingdom other than winning and being a little upset about how the offense isn't as dynamic as it has been in past times, which is, it's hard to complain because the bar is so high anyway.
All y'all.
Yeah, complainers. I know you said Chiefs fans complain like no other.
I don't like. I don't like. My bad. Hold on. I'm over here looking at stuff. I got a commercial. Like, you hear it?
But yeah, we're definitely become. I've seen it on the message boards. Definitely a lot of spoiled brats out there talking about.
That's why I don't like you. That's why I never liked the Chiefs fans. I don't like. It's not so much that I don't like Kansas City. It's like I don't like the Kansas City fans. It's like it's not so much that I don't like the Cowboys. I don't like the Cowboy fans. Right? I mean, they're fucking arrogant and living in 20 years ago. Yeah. Like, if you're still talking about what you did in '96, my guy.
Keep talking about Emmitt Smith, Michael Irvin, Troy Aikman.
in primetime Deion Sanders and I think that what bothers me the most about them is they got the nerve to call themselves America's team.
Yeah, that's the thing that bothers me. It's like, okay, no.
I live in America and I missed that fucking vote.
Yeah, right. and Jarrah Jones. Yeah.
What do you think? What you predict for your team?
Well, one thing that's come out of nowhere is that we seem to have a pretty solid defense. So like we're sitting here wondering, okay, this is the best defense Patrick Mahomes has had. It's looking like it might be top 5. If you can somehow pair a top 5 defense with Patrick Mahomes, you're looking pretty good, right? Like, am I wrong to assume that's a nightmare scenario for the rest of the league?
It is. I don't like Kermit.
Well, I think you're obligated by blood to hate him. But rest assured,
like his family.
Oh, well, that's the whole. Okay, so we need Taylor Swift.
Yeah, I don't like his wife. I don't like his brother. And then I used to like Kelsey, but like he went from the sisters, right? And he had a baddie, and then he went to Taylor Swift. Like he wants to be on a song.
Do that. You gonna say no to Taylor Swift? I mean, you could.
Yeah, I would.
Nah, dog. You gotta do it. It's Taylor Swift.
And you don't say no to Beyonce. Like, fuck Taylor Swift.
Taylor Swift, deserve it or not, is the hottest pop star in the world right now.
But Alvin, you're not talking about music. You're talking about dating someone who is known for dating celebrities and putting your business in the street. Why would you fuck with her?
Like also known for raising your profile up 3,000,000%.
Yeah, and then destroying you on the back end when she writes the breakup sign. Yeah. A breakup song for you.
Yeah. It's a risk.
Not a risk. I say, look, in football, people believe in stats and statistics. If you look at the stats and statistics, you know you're not going to win in this one.
Yeah.
2, maybe 3 good years, and then smeared and all over the press, and you're not going to get $1 from her.
No.
And like, only thing you're going to get is a little bit of clout, and that's why your boy Chelsea. I mean, he's I like his swag.
Yeah.
Right. We when 10 years from now, when Chelsea's old, he'll probably play for the Raiders.
Well, I was gonna make a joke. You're saying you hate Patrick Mahomes, but like in 15 years when he wants to retire, he'll come to the Raiders and you'll be on him. But yeah, the Kelsey's been in like Philly, right? Sorry, this is a family show. But Kelsey's been in like 3 million commercials, right? He's in everything. Saturday Night Live, to be fair, was before.
I mean, he's a media darling, right?
Yeah,
they love that story. Him and his brother playing against each other, with his brother being on the Eagles. It's real interesting.
So,
so what's your Super Bowl prediction? AFC, who's going?
Well, as it stands, quarter season, we'll have to do a half season one too. But as it stands for me, quarter season, I'm looking at the Chiefs 49ers part 2 Electric Boogaloo.
I agree with the 49ers. I don't know. Philly might have an opportunity to make it back through. I want to see the Philly 49ers game, and then I'll let you know.
Okay.
But that's my 2 from that side. This side, I'm looking at. I think it's going to be the Dolphins or the Bills.
Woo! Dolphins going to keep it rolling, huh?
Well, I mean, injuries is what's going to slow that team down. Yep. And I think Josh Allen is a true freak of nature. Like I had an opportunity to really pay attention to him. I've been watching more football. Before, I only watched Raiders games for the most part. And now with my Red Zone, I watch everybody. Patty, because his mom said don't call him Patty. His name is Patty. So.
Patty, disrespectful, sir.
Yeah, intentionally. Patty did something that was different that he brought to the league that I'm seeing imitated now by a lot of other quarterbacks. And it's that sidearm throw. Yeah. And Josh is pretty good at it too.
Okay.
I think he got a solid team. They got 2 losses, but that loss in London, that's a hard one. Yeah, what the fuck is that about, right? Like, the fuck is up with the NFL trying to play so many goddamn games in London? Like, I don't think that's fair to the players. You got jet lag in place. Like, these players are literally playing in their biological clock at 3:00 in the morning, right? Like, people used to talk about the lag of a West Coast team playing against an East Coast team.
Yeah.
Right. And now you're talking about playing like I see it making more sense in like Mexico City, which I know is a market that they've been looking at. That makes more sense because it's still kind of in our whole time zone realm. Even going up to Canada and establishing an NFL team in Canada, which I know they don't want to really fight against the CFL. But like that makes sense. But like to go intercontinental, bro, I don't see how that's fair. And that Bills team was not themselves when they played in London. So
well, I wonder, if they're gonna work the schedule out to where if you play in London, you have to have a bye week before or something like because you can't just a week be out there. But I don't know. It seems like, I mean, if your clock is messed up, say you leave a game in the States, and then you immediately go to Europe, a week should be enough time to acclimate, right?
I don't know. I just think they're not fucking machines.
Yeah.
And I've done a little bit of traveling, and time zones can fuck you up, man. And I'm just talking going from from PST to EST and then back to PST.
Yeah.
That ain't lovely, bro. Ain't nothing nice about that.
No, for sure.
And it messed me up for not just that time period. A couple of weeks after that, I'm still kind of hung over from it.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Well,
So you think it's your boys, the Chiefs, are going to play against San Francisco, and what's the best team in the NFL right now?
I mean, right now it's looking like San Francisco, but it's hard. I mean, it's arguable because if you want to stack up, well, hold on. If you want to stack up their wins and who they've gotten their wins on, they had a supposed marquee win against the Cowboys, who I personally think is trash and overrated every year. Dak Prescott sucks, but you know they blew them out. They blew out some other team, but they blew out the Cardinals and like the Jets, or I don't know. Just like they haven't had that many big teams, but you know the Chiefs haven't had that great of wins either. Been winning. So it's hard to measure. It's hard to measure these things. It's like we played a Jets team that took us to the brink almost, that was supposed to be terrible, yet that same Jets team beat the Bills. So it's hard to quantify this whole thing, but you know it's I can't lose faith in Patty Mahomes, you know. So on our side, I think they'll put it together eventually, get the wide receivers to tighten up, and we'll be ready to roll with that top 5 defense, baby. It's on.
Yeah, I think also your loss, if I remember correctly, Chelsea wasn't playing, was he?
Wasn't playing. Chris Jones wasn't playing, and on top of that, we still had some crazy unseasonably drops. One ended up being a pick 6, and then we still only lost by 1 to a really good Detroit team. So I think we're still him. You know what I mean? We're still the people. But anyway, bro. Last words.
No, I don't. You know, I guess I'll end with thoughts and prayers to all the people who are currently in war zones, whether that's in the Ukraine or in Israel or the Gaza Strip. I pray for this nation. In our totally shitty political system, we didn't even talk about the fact that we can't even establish a Speaker of the House right now.
Oh God, yeah.
And I really hope that we can bring a level of common sense and civil discord back to this nation. And I hope that the viewers, all 7 of you guys, challenge yourselves to get out of your echo chamber, right? Go listen to different points of view with a true will to understand what somebody else's thought is versus just trying to listen to them to shit on their idea. That's what will make us move better. However, if you are just out there trying to start shit, before you get out there, and if you want all that smoke, remember Woodford, double O.
Hey, right. Hey, right. Hey, Christian. All right, well, with that, as always, no one asked for this, but here it is. So
I don't think I asked for this, Alvin.
You didn't ask for this at all. I gave this to you. I put this on you.
It's nerve-wracking every time we do it, right? Because it's like I'm dancing the line between being fully who I am, but also knowing that I am putting content on the internet to be perceived, clipped, and snipped in any way that it wants to be. I really am a fuck 'em type of guy, right? Like deep down in my heart, and quit crying, you bitch, do something, right? Yeah. Like really how I feel, but I try to temper myself a little bit for this. I think at some point in time, I'm gonna have to take the leash off and just start
a lot.
And just start telling you really how it is. Because, if I really was going to talk about some of these subjects, I would really say some shit like, you steal somebody's shit and then they come back for their shit. Like, how can you be surprised that they mad about that shit? Like, yeah, I want to find the nuance, which goes back to my other statement, but in like the surface level of it is like, wow, that looks pretty simple to me, right? But
we temper a lot, but we have to get more successful before we start like unleashing ourselves. But
yeah,
all right,
this shit where if I lose my job, I'm okay with it.
yeah. So all right, well, thanks for watching, all 7 of you. Hopefully 8 this week, and we'll see you next time. We'll bring Rod back on some other time. All right. All right, bro. Later.
All right, bro. Bye.
Bum, 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 bum.